Hello everyone, I hope you're having an amazing 2021 so far. Today I'm doing the first impressions of the Forever Flawless Allure palette from Makeup Revolution. I was actually gifted this for Christmas and I was saving this until I could make this video because I truly wanted to make a first impressions. So let's inspect the palette for a while. First of all, the packaging is absolutely gorgeous. Makeup Revolution is killing it with the packaging, especially recently. And the inside is beautiful as well. If you love pink tones, this is definitely the palette for you because it is basically almost all pink. I'm looking at the back of the packaging right now and it actually seems that these are all eyeshadows, so there are no pigments in this palette. If you are interested in that, there is actually a difference. Pinks are not my go-tos usually. I'm just not a pink girl. I actually decided to do swatches for this video even though I don't really like swatches because I suck at them. And also, I feel like it doesn't tell you a lot about the palette, but you know, let's do it. Why not? Oh my gosh, listen to me literally pronounce all of these names incorrectly. First, we have the shade Hedonism. It is a matte finish. Then we have the shade Magnetic, which is a shimmer. I have to say the shimmers in this palette are exceptional. Next up we have a matte shade once again, which is very similar to the first one actually, and it's called Sensation. And then we have two shimmers, Lovesick and Crave. And then last but not least is another matte. It is called Swave. I must say the mattes do not swatch that well. It may be because of me, let's be honest, but I don't know. We'll see how they perform on the eyes. Let's move to the second row. So once again, I'm going from left to right. We have the shade Attract, which is a matte as well. It's a very beautiful like mauve shade. Then we have a shimmer shade once again called Flaunt. And then we have another matte, which is Sweethearts, which leans a little bit towards like warm pink. We have the shade Sinner. And then we have another matte, which is basically the darkest matte in the palette, and this is called Nymph. And the last one is called Seduction. Let's move on to the last row. The first shade is a shimmer shade. It is called Chemistry. Next up we have three matte shades. The first one is Charisma. Then we have Infatuation. And then the shade Risky, which is like a brick foxy color. And the last two shades are Fever, and then the last matte is called J'adore. The shade Fever is probably my favorite one from the whole palette because it's a duochrome and it is so beautiful. I'm going to do my base before I do my eyes, so if you want to skip ahead, that is completely fine. If you came here to see the palette, I'm going to fast forward through this part so that I don't bore you too much, and then we can move on to the eyes.
Seeing monsters out your window. No, you can't sleep, you pretend though. You don't have to play the hero. Cause I got you like you got me. When the earth shakes, when the bombs scream, until our last breath, every heartbeat.
Let's play with the palette now, shall we? I am starting by my eyeshadow base, obviously, as I do with pretty much every single look that I do. This is the Prime and Lock base for Makeup Revolution, and I basically choose this with any kind of looks that don't require too much detail. So if I'm doing a cut crease, a better primer would be the cut crease canvas, for example. But if I'm just gonna do like a smoky eye or anything everyday related, this primer is amazing. Did I just say everyday related? My initial goal with the look was to create something warm toned. Well, you'll see. I started with the shade Infatuation, kind of to blur out my lower lash line and to give the eyes a little bit more of a shape. And then with a bigger brush, I decided to blend that out with the shade Charisma. And I continue to apply the shade on my eyelids as well, just to give it some base. I then use the shade Hedonism underneath my brow bone just to kind of blend everything into seamlessness. And I have to say, this shade for some reason felt more chalky. There was even more kickback in the pan, so I don't know how that's possible. Maybe I just went too hard. I don't know. It's really well pigmented though, so it's actually not an issue for me at all. I decided to darken the outer corners a little bit, and for that I was using the shade Infatuation again, which is the one that I used on the bottom lash line. Basically, I was trying to intensify it as much as I could, but then I realized that, you know what, it's just not gonna work. I was really trying not to use the darkest shade in the palette because I didn't want to go purple. When I was looking in the mirror, the shades looked really pink. Am I blind? But it feels like on my eyes it looks like every shade looks more pink than in the pan. So I tried to pick up the shade Risky, which is like that brick color, and this helped a little bit, but again, it appeared quite pink on my eyes. So this is where I kind of learned to give up my hopes and dreams and just admit that this was going to be a pink look, essentially. I mean, what was I expecting? Ladies and gents, I did it. I dipped into the Nymph shade. If you want depth with this palette and if you want that smokiness, this is really the only shade that is gonna give that to you, because the other ones are way too light for that. If you look at the shimmers, some of them are quite dark. I don't know, let me know what you think, but at least in my opinion, if I have a darker shimmer, like for example the shades Lovesick, Crave, Seduction, I would like to put something darker underneath. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that if you love super dark, or if you love smoky makeup, if you love to go really dark in the inner corners, or outer corners, excuse me, then the purple is really the only way to go. I decided to intensify the look with some brown eye pencil because I was really missing it. Like I was missing that smoky feeling, you know. As I mentioned before, the shade Fever is probably one of my favorite shades of the palette, so I decided to use that on my eyelids today. I mean, you saw the swatches. Again, see what I mean? Like, swatches don't tell you anything. The flat brush just didn't really do it justice, but I ended up going in with my finger to fix it. Once again, not everybody is into this crazy bling, so if you prefer makeup for everyday purposes, maybe to work, to school, I don't know, Zoom calls or whatever, you might be okay with the flat brush and the result that you get, but I like things a little bit more intense. I went on with the shade basically along my bottom lash line as well because I loved the look. And then I also decided to apply the shade Magnetic into my inner corners. So this is a really beautiful highlighter shade as well. I'm smoking out my lash line with some black eye pencil. This one is from Bourjois. And I'm just blending that out because I am applying lashes later. And I find that the best thing that you can do is to apply either a liquid eyeliner or some sort of a black eye pencil to cover the band. And then I realized that it took off a little bit of my outer corner shade, so I'm going back in with the shade Nymph and just covering the patchiness, like whatever needed to be covered. Right, I'm gonna go stick on some lashes and I'll be right back. Alright, let's contour this face. So I'm applying a cream contour by the brand Sosu. So if you remember, I did not set my foundation, which is why I'm going in with a cream contour. Do not apply cream contour if you already have powder on your face. That is not going to work. Now I am aware that this contour shade is basically more like a cream bronzer, but for some reason I like the finish. I like the effect that it gives my face. Once that is blended, I am taking my skincare sponge from Real Techniques. Yes, this is a skincare sponge and it is great for powder and for carving the face. The pores in the sponge are really huge and it kind of sucks in or eats the powder, and then I find that it distributes it way better. I am now taking a cream highlighter because my cheeks are still not set. This is the Born to Glow highlighter from NYX. I actually love how this looks on the skin. The only thing that I would say is not really good is when it's open, the product is coming out on its own. And then it just becomes really messy, so that's the only thing that I don't like. But the product itself is really good. So I am powdering the whole face to set everything in place, and then I'm going in with some blush. This one is from Rimmel. This is the Maxi Blush, and this is the shade Wild Card. And once that is done, I am going to do my lipstick. So I already lined my lips with some random lip liner that I found. I'm using the matte liquid lipstick from Catrice, and this shade is called My Life, My Decision. I am gonna start on a really positive note, and I'm gonna say that the formula of the shades is top notch, whether it's the mattes or whether it's the shimmers. I mean, the shimmers especially, come on. Probably the majority of my palettes is from Makeup Revolution, and I think this is the best formula so far. I personally would prefer more darker shades in the palette, so like more matte darker shades, because some of the mattes are very similar to each other. For example, the shade J'adore and Charisma, and then also the shade Suave and Sweethearts, and then even the Hedonism and Sensation are essentially like, if you would put them next to each other on the eye, it would probably be the exact same thing. You know, that is just my preference, so I'm not gonna say that that is something negative. That is just something that I would prefer myself. What I am a little bit shocked by, or like surprised by, is that my eyes look really pink. Like, it almost looks like I went in with like 2 shades of pink and that's it. This is basically what I was saying at the beginning, is that when you look at the palette first, it seems like a warm toned palette that would give you some orange tones, some pink tones, but then when you look at my eyes, it's just pink. Now, I don't know where the problem is, whether it's the formulation or whether it's just the shades just are very similar to each other essentially, so they kind of mix on the eyes and they don't really look different. I really don't know. I have to say, I love the way that the pink accentuates my green eyes. That is a positive note for me. And I do think that this palette is amazing. Again, if you love pink tones and if you're looking for something for everyday wear, this is truly perfect. If you love creative looks and if you love to play with makeup, if you love depth, this is probably not the best choice for you. However, for the average consumer, which this palette is essentially aimed towards, I feel like it's really good. I hope I wasn't too harsh today. I really didn't mean to be. Am I going to be using the palette more? Yes, I am, definitely. It is a beautiful palette. I think that I might pair it with some other palettes or some other shades, but once again, that is just my preference. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the palette. Let me know what you think about the color story. Do you have it? Would you try it? Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and join the fam. It is free and I would love to have you here. Have a nice day or evening wherever you are, and I will hopefully see you in my next video.